Good morning and welcome again to Summit. It's the last day in the month of November 2020, and we appreciate God for keeping us, especially because it's been a very, very interesting year. So here we are today, and we give God all the thanks. My name is Jumoke Michaels. That was a message from Pelican Valley Estate, talking about lands and property. And that opportunity is open for everyone who's interested in investing in that estate. All you need to do is just give them a call, and you'll be attended to and given further information on how you can be part of that program. My name is Jumoke Michaels again. You're welcome. Banji, good morning.
Jumoke, good morning. How was the weekend?
It was good.
Well, I just pray that the good Lord has started the good job since January till the end of November. Will actually complete the job for us to see the end of this year successfully and then transit to a new year as 2021. My name is Banji Busari. It's a fresh edition of the program Summit. You're welcome.
All right, so we're starting a new month tomorrow, the month of December. And just this week, something good is happening in Lagos. For those who do not know about that, we're having the Lagos East Senatorial by-election. That's coming up this Saturday, the 5th of December. And that's something to look forward to in Lagos State. And to talk more about this and other happenings, political happenings in Lagos State, we have with us the APC Publicity Secretary, the person of Mr. SEYE, OLADEJO.
Welcome, that's APC for Lagos State.
Lagos, yes, APC Publicity Secretary, Lagos State. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. It's quite a long time now. I'm sure the last time we had this privilege was before COVID-19.
Yeah.
I guess it was before COVID-19.
Around that time.
Around that time. Now, this election that Jumoke just spoke about was supposed to take place October 31. That's end of last month. Unfortunately, NSAS actually disrupted all that. But a new date is coming up this weekend. That's on the 5th. How much of the logistics, preparations, and all that actually affected your plan? I mean, the NSAS, how much of the disruptions did you have on your plan?
Well, naturally, we were affected by the sudden postponement, like you said, occasioned by the NSAS protest. As a party, we had everything in place. We had a campaign schedule. We were already reaching out to the potential electorates and our candidates, Mr. Tokunbowa Abiru, who will, by the grace of God, emerge as the winner of the election come Saturday, was busy reaching out to everyone in the 5 local governments of Ekwe, Ibejuleki, Shomolu, Oshofe, and Ikorodu, and the 11 SEDs and the 98 wards covered by Lagos State Senatorial District, canvassing for votes, reaching out to the community leaders, reaching out to the youth, reaching out to assistants, to women groups and the rest of them. But the sudden postponements forced us to go back to the drawing board. And here we are. And nothing has really changed in terms of our chances. We are modestly very confident that we are possible to victory.
All right, Jumoke, please permit me to, you just mentioned your candidate, Mr. Tokunbowa Abiru. Mr. Tokunbowa Abiru, for some Lagosians, they may not have been familiar with that name in political terrain. I would like to know how much of the background information of your candidate would you like to share? I mean, it was this morning. Some Lagosians might be unfamiliar with that name.
Mr. Tokunbowa Abiru, a thoroughbred Lagosian from Ikorodu, from a reputable family. His dad, the late Justice Abiru, was also a senator representing the same district. Mr. Abiru is an unusual candidate because for the first time we have a candidate with a rare combination of private and public sector experience. He's a good example of what people could become leveraging on public education in Nigeria, in Lagos as it were. He had all his education in public schools, from primary school, Hilpo, Baptist Primary School, to Government College, to Baptist Academy, to Lagos State University, where he read economics. He has had a very glowing career as a banker for 32 years most of those careers he spent as a top echelon, as a banker, an accomplished economist. He was the commissioner for finance during the second term of Mr. Babatunde Right Fashola government as a governor between 2011 and 2013. But he had to resign to go and pursue his career, to get to the peak of his career. And you agree with me, it doesn't happen every day for people in public office to resign, leaving the peaks office and the rest of it, to go and draw a conclusive end to get to the top, the very top of their career in the private sector. And he resigned as the managing director of Polaris Bank, having also served as an executive director in First Bank of Nigeria PLC and managing director of Sky Bank. So we have before you a candidate with pedigree, someone that is passionate about the interests of his people in the Lagos State Senatorial District. He has traversed the length and breadth of the Senatorial District, and he knows in real time the challenges of the people, and is prepared, more than prepared, to provide that quality representation as soon as he's inaugurated as a member of the Nigerian Senate.
But was he actually your best in the party from that zone, from that senatorial district? Because some people probably may opine that you settled for him because of the intimidating CV and the profile that he has. That's against some others from the party. Was he really imposed? That's where I'm going.
Well, truth be told, there was no question of imposition. A number of people expressed interest to run for the office. Naturally, I mean, as a ruling party, as a party with records of victories in elections, as a party that has a tradition of winning, a lot of people would naturally want to contest, because most of the time, the real contest has always been picking the ticket of our party. Mr. Tokunbo Abiru, like all other aspirants then, also expressed an interest. And our constitution as a party allows for consensus, allows for understanding, to engender peace, so that we will not waste time reconciling, fielding parties after premises and the rest of it. And thereafter, we went to the field for affirmation, for ratification. Over 100,000 party members ratified this candidacy. And today, we are proud to say that a good number of those who actually expressed interest earlier are in the forefront of his campaign, all over the senatorial district. So we came up with the best candidates, as it were, and any serious party would really want to put their best foot forward. You agree with me? When you go to the Senate, it's not a place where you're going to send people who are just going to experiment, who don't have the requisite experience to be able to debate, to be able to put in the front burner issues that are germane to his people. And Mr. Tokunbo Abiru, with his wealth of experience in the public sector, which cuts across a whole lot of people, be able to have leverage on all of this to bring the proverbial dividend of the democracy.
All right, so it's in public space that the APC has an ongoing, should I call it tussle, with the particularly PDP candidate, that's Babatunde Gbadamosi. And I think you have an issue about the court ongoing.
On his credentials.
His
credentials.
Could you just throw some light on these issues?
Okay, it's a very simple thing. The PDP candidate, who was just a few months ago a candidate in the ADP, and before
gubernatorial candidate
in the ADP, and before then was also gubernatorial candidate in PDP. I'm trying to give you the trajectory of inconsistency and instability. He was the first person to take a candidate to court over what he alleged as possessing two voters' cards, which never happened. And really that suddenly woke us up that, look, this man that is just so desperate for technicality to get into office, that speaks to desperation and unseriousness. So we felt we also needed to expose a whole lot of anomalies about him, and his credentials came to question.
What do you have against his credentials?
His credentials clearly shows that he only presented results where he had credits and he passed, contrary to the original results where he also had F9 in some subjects.
Is it an allegation?
It's not an allegation. It's not an allegation. We saw the results. We're already in court, so we cannot talk about issues that we're not sure. He had F9 in economics. He was silenced about that. And if you had F9 in economics, if you ask me, you can't want to go to the floor of the Senate. It means you are not really strong discussing about economics, talking about elementary economics way back in secondary school. You had F9 in mathematics. and had F9 Christian religious studies. Well, maybe if it's not really so godly, he's not going to preach sermon on the floor of the Senate. But we need somebody with some a bit of fearing God and stuff like that to really lead the people to the promised land. So all these have to be investigated. The result itself that he presented couldn't have secured admission to LASU. That's number 2. Number 3, he was silent about what he studied in LASU. He should let us see the certificate that obtained in LASU, and by extension, his NYC certificate. If he declared all this, he swore to oath, that amounts to perjury, and the court will be interested in addressing all of this. And you agree with me that if I allege that you don't have a certain certificate, the reaction is not for me to say you have living classmates, you didn't have NYC certificate, you now show me your picture in NYC uniform, you show me your discharge certificate. These are issues that have to be addressed, and people at this point in time should be interested that who is going to represent them. The man that will represent them should be above board. He should be a man of integrity. He should be a man that you can all vouch for and serve the best interests of the people in an election. Going forward, Nigerians are very particular about the kind of people they really put up there as leaders.
All right, so sorry, did this come as a result of the fact that he went to court first, or he brought this allegation about having double passport, that the APC had to bring out this about him?
Not necessarily. You see, we are not losing sleep about Gbadamosi. Gbadamosi is a serial contestant during elections, and by extension, a serial loser. I mean, it's in their DNA. They should be used to it by now. So we're not worried about that. He even lacks presence. His campaign for the past few days has been on live support. He's finally on the social media, busy doing nothing. People have attributed some rhetoric, some eloquence to him, but his results say otherwise. That, well, he might be eloquent and all that, full of many words, but it's not so brilliant. I'm not saying that. It's results that are saying that. So, and it is not just enough to be a man of so many words, and you can't keep those words, and you are found wanting. May I remind you that it was this same person that broke the lockdown rule at the peak of COVID-19 pandemic in this state. He gathered youngsters, young enough to be his kids, who he should mentor, and they were partying when the state should go under lockdown. That's the volumes about somebody who wants to make up.
All right, there's still so much to talk about the Lagos East Senatorial by-election, but we'll take a quick break to take some commercial. Okay, welcome back. Just to also tell you that you can be part of this conversation by sending an SMS to the number we'll display on the screen. Please, we ask for an SMS. You can ask our guest any question we want to ask him about the by-election or something happening in Lagos that you want to bring their attention to. Just send us an SMS and he will answer your question and then react to whatever you ask this morning. We still have with us Mr. SEYE OLADEJO, the APC Lagos Publicity Secretary, Lagos State.
Yeah, I'd like to, without actually holding brief for the other candidates, PDP senatorial candidates, Mr. Gbadamosi. Last year, he was the flag bearer for ADP, that's gubernatorial elections. And the LCC organized the debate for himself and his on the counterpart. He was said to have emerged the best amongst the lot. Such a person cannot be said to be lacking in intellect. That is, as you mentioned, I mean, the F9 that he allegedly got in economics and secondary school days. Would you say, such a person is not good enough to be?
Okay. Let me humor him by giving him some credit for some street wisdom. But truthfully, in a debate during the election, the true performance is assessed and is determined by the result of the election. If I were to choose as a candidate between winning a debate and winning an election, as a politician who is running and serious about the contest, I would rather choose to win the election. If truthfully he did well, for me, for his debate, it was full of stand and fury, meaning nothing. It also meant that he won the election because the electorate. He won the debate because the electorates were not persuaded by those rhetorics. They were not persuaded by the so-called programs, and they were also not persuaded by his lack of experience to take them to the promised land. And that reflected clearly in the result of the election. And that's why he's been busy jumping from party to party, looking for accommodation.
Now, the election is just a few days away.
Yeah.
Some people are likely to conclude that maybe APC became jittery, and in knowing his maybe rising profile during campaigns and all that. Otherwise, why would you wait till a few days to election before coming up with these allegations and all that?
Let me tell you, there is just absolutely no reason to be jittery. If not for the sake of partisan politics, there won't be any basis really for candidates in Badamasi to stand on the same pedestal platform with a candidate to combat you, comparing the pedigree. There's nothing to be jittery about. We're talking about a man who has never really won an election. We're talking about a man representing a party that's in disarray. Have you seen the PDP chairman, Mr. Oladejyo Doherty, campaigning for the APC candidate? Of course not. That tells you that that party is in a mess. They don't stand a chance to win any election. I can assure you. In the coming elections come Saturday, they won't win a ward. Maybe we'll manage to win his polling unit, just maybe. So there's absolutely nothing to be jittery about. Taking him to court is just to put him in his place. It's just for him to know that we are aware of the whole lot of skeletons that he has in his cupboard, and we just chose before now to ignore him. But that's not to say that we don't know what to do and court likes of exercise.
So much, sir. I'd like to know, what, Mr. Tokunbo Abiru is your candidate at the come Saturday 5th. You are hoping that he will emerge victorious. What issues has he actually been taken to the people of Lagos East Senatorial district? What are the issues? What does he really want to do differently from his predecessor? Because his predecessor, that's a late Senator Bayo Sinowo, was said to be one of your best, and he represented you very well at the Senate. Do you think that he can actually surpass the records of his predecessor?
I can assure you that we have a very good candidate, Tokunbo Abiru. Tokunbo has been able to draw an analogy between his career as a banker, which was about service, and now coming to the political platform is also about service. It's about identifying those peculiar needs of his people. He has canvassed the entire senatorial district. He has been able to see in real time the challenges of these people, the poverty level. As a result of that, apart from the legislation and the influencing and the networking that he will be doing on the floor of the House, he has a whole package that will speak to over-stabilization and empowerment of his people in the senatorial district. And what makes him stand out is this. He got to his career as a banker and he left as a chief executive. It's a kind of payback to the people. It's a kind of payback to the state that has given him so much. It's a kind of setting an example that when people have benefited from the polity, from the state, from the nation, well, at a certain time they should be able to look back and pay back. It also serves as an encouragement for his lives who are still in the public sector, who have so much wealth of experience that can impact positively on the public sector to come on board. Every day we talk about lack of policy leadership. Tokunbo represents one of the very best that we have in Lagos, and it will deliver when it goes for management.
All right, you have another.
Yes, you just spoke about poverty alleviation and all that. Of course, we are very familiar with that. But let me ask you, some of your representatives in the House of Reps and the Senate have actually been agitating for special status for Lagos State. I mean, but it's been talk and talk and talk. How much of force will Tokunbo be able to give to this this demand or this agenda?
Perhaps one of the fallouts of the NSAS protest, I would describe it as a kind of blessing in disguise, because the issue of special status for Lagos came to the front burner again. You agree with me that single incidents elicit a whole lot of empathy from all and sundry across the nation, even from state governors and the federal government, from everybody, about the need to rebuild Lagos, about the need to address problems that are peculiar to Lagos, about the need to accord Lagos the special status befitting of the peculiar challenges in terms of social infrastructure, in terms of security, in terms of environment and the rest of them. Lagos in terms of land area, it's the smallest state in the country, but with very, very huge population. So these speak volumes about the way social infrastructure wear off every day as a result of pressure. So definitely the issue of special status remains in the front burner of what Tokunbo Abiru will champion, of course, with the cooperation of fellow distinguished senators when he gets elected.
Okay, before we leave the issue of the by-election, let me just read this question someone is asking. He said, will there be vehicular...
Sorry, the name of the person.
It's Olatunde from Agata. I don't know where that could be. He said, will there be vehicular movement, and what areas will be affected, and the time of restrictions? I don't know if there is any instruction you can...
You see, unlike the PDP camp, who are also acting as a consultant, as contestants and habitat for the election. We are no habitat at this part of the divide. I would rather want INEC and the security operatives to answer the question about restriction of movement.
There's no instruction to that effect
no,
yet.
Nothing yet, but it is not from experience, it's possible that will happen. I'm not in a position to say that.
Okay.
But let me just say, talking about the areas to be affected, there are the 5 local governments that make up the Lagos State Senatorial District, the local governments of Shomolu, Oshofe, Ibejuleki, Ekpe, and Ikorodu. So those are the areas that will be affected, and that we expect our electorates to come out en masse to vote. So as regards to and the rest of it, maybe the next 24-48 hours, we'll have more information about that.
Okay. Moving forward, let me ask, the elections, the election will be coming up Saturday in Lagos State. It's one of the senatorial districts in Lagos State. How much of the work, the service, or the dividends of democracy provided by the current administration would actually speak to in favor of your candidate? APC's performance, how much would it actually impact on the emergence or the election senator? Mr. Tokunbo Abiru, sorry.
I like that, Senator Tokunbo Abiru.
Sorry.
No, by this time next week,
I went beyond my bounds.
Be a senator elect by this time next week is allowed. But let me just quickly say this, says Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu God. He has been up and running. And as far as we are concerned, 500 days after, he has kept the faith. He promised that he was going to focus on completing projects by his predecessors. He has been doing exactly that, along the line of the theme mantra, the theme agenda. Theme standing for traffic and transport management, health and environment, making education and technology, making Lagos the 21st century economy, entertainment and tourism, and security and governance. He has been able to touch all these main areas during the time under review. During that same time, too, he has been able to improve on social infrastructure. Talking about completing projects, the Pen Cinema flyover is nearing completion. He has been able to complete the Musala Mohammed National Airport Road. They have recruited over 3,000 teachers during the period under review, 1,000 LASMA officials, touching all areas, too numerous to mention. Talking about education, provided brand new classrooms, furniture, and the rest of it. All this we speak for, we count for something. And it's also very important that it makes a whole lot of political sense to have the same party that is running affairs at the executive level in Nalausa to also call the shots on the floor of the National Assembly.
Yeah, you said something about trying to talk about the antecedents of Governor Babatu Sanwo-Olu. And but if you look at Lagos State now, especially since after the NSAS protest, the activities on the roads seems to be getting out of order. People pass one way anyhow. People follow BRT lanes. People, in fact, it's like we're not in Lagos anymore because of the breakdown of order. What's the administration doing about that?
I can assure you that the government is not mindful of this seeming anarchy, which was the main reason why we felt the NSAS protect itself as much as the organizers meant well. It was hijacked by hoodlums as it were, and that's why it ended in chaos as well. But I can assure you, bringing sanity back on our road is a job in progress. This is a continuous exercise which the state government is taking on board. Right now, the police force is being re-energized, motivated. Same thing applies to last mile, extending working hours, providing the necessary incentives to make sure that we restore sanity back on our road. And let me also see this opportunity that Lagosians ordinarily should know that good governance is about law and order. You can't beat traffic lights, you can't drive against traffic, and you expect that we're going to have progress and sanity on our roads. And when the full weight of the law is made to bear on offenders, people start crying out about high-handedness on the part of the government. We also need to talk to each other. We are all Lagosians, we have brothers, we have sisters, we have relatives, we have colleagues also breaking this law. Going forward, I'm sure very soon, and it's already happening, the government will not just sit back and watch the situation get out of hand. But something is being done to address these issues, and it's going to continue to improve in this area.
Now, as the publicity secretary for the party in the state, Mr. OLADEJO, let me ask, how much political education are you actually providing for your voters come Saturday? That's on one hand. Then the other hand is, as we are almost familiar in this country with money politics, how much education are you providing for the voters? And then let me ask whether this election will be devoid of, the usual sharing of money on the election day.
I can only speak for APC. APC is a party with a structure in the state. We are on every street, when virtually in every home, when every ward, when every group and premise in the state. We're not just going to be looking for new members and new supporters. I can assure that our members are organized, they are ready, waiting for Saturday to come out in mass. People are mobilized, fully mobilized. Our candidate has not just sat on social media canvassing for votes. He's been everywhere, meeting with people, selling his programs, telling them what's going to do differently, and all this will count for something come Saturday. We are not for money, and there will be no basis for it. We've been around more than 2 decades, and I believe our performance over time should speak for us, and I can assure you, come Saturday, we'll be winning the election.
All right, I don't think we should end this discussion without talking about the security issues in Lagos, especially because there's always an increase in theft towards the end of the year. And we are here at the end of the year, and we're already beginning to hear issues of robberies and all that. Now, what are the plans on ground to further ensure that Lagosians are safe during this Yuletide period?
Well, during the Yuletide period, special arrangements are always made to address issues of security, issues of traffic congestion and the rest of it, which is occasioned by preparation for the festive season. And this will not be different in any way. But the unusual cases of robbery and the rest of it, I would say, is an aftermath of the breakdown of law and order that we witnessed during the SARS protests, when police stations were burned down and arms and ammunition were looted and getting to wrong hands. And you will see that the police authorities have been up and doing in recent times, raiding the black spots, making arrests in thousands and recovering use of those arms and ammunition. I can only assure Lagosians that the state government is alive with responsibility. The most important duty of the government is the security of lives and property of the citizens, and Governor Sanwo-Olu is determined to fulfill that part of the social contract, to make sure that we have joyous and safe Yuletide period. And we also have a duty as a people to provide necessary tip-off wherever we have cases of security threats, to go a long way to help the authorities name potential security threats in the country.
Now, we've witnessed defections across the country, but we've not seen a major defection in Lagos State. Are you also hoping to reap from other parties in the APC? I mean, to reap high-profile politicians from other parties?
Naturally, the opposition PDP that has failed woefully in the past 5 years to play meaningful opposition. It is a party that is finally under threat of survival. So the implosion in that party is nothing new. Their transfer season is permanent, and it still happens soon. Recently, Governor Mai of Ebonyi crossed over to APC, citing irreconcilable differences with the leadership of PDP, and we are opening more people to we come on board so that we can move this nation forward.
I mean, we should not forget the fact that Lagos State was 100% APC in the National Assembly as a past. But today, you have like 10% to PDP. Are you hoping to bring them back?
Hopefully, they'll be back in the fold, but whatever percentage they have, still knows that we have very good control and we have very good support from the people of Lagos State.
All right, so let me say something to
about
APC
your candidate.
there. Yeah.
Say
APC
something to the
faithful,
viewer.
come Saturday, your last word.
Thank you very much. I want to seize this opportunity to appreciate your tremendous support in the past years. It's not taken for granted. We can only hope to win elections when we can count on your support, when you can make the votes count, when the people can come out en masse to support our candidates. Saturday morning is not a time for tea party, it's not a time to stay back at home and hold family meetings and do things that are not meant to be done that day. We want to urge you to come out en masse to vote for our candidate, Mr. Tokunbo Abiru for Lagos State Senatorial East election under APC, and Mr. Femi Said for Koshofe 2, Lagos State House of Assembly election. We can only assure you of continuous good governance and to ensure that we deliver on that mandate and we fulfill our own part of that social contract. God bless us to do so.
Beautifully delivered. Beautifully delivered.
Yeah.
We'd like to sincerely thank you for your time, sir.
Very much, sir.
We wish you the best, your party the very best.
Thank you.
That's a come Saturday. My name is Banji Busari. That's our package for today.
And I'm Jumoke Michael. See you again on Wednesday. Bye-bye.